Alright guys, let's continue this boot camp series. We're coming into the worksheet. There's one more page, but I feel like it's kind of 3 sections, so maybe we won't rush it all into one day. I don't know. Let's see. So the 3rd page that says your plan, there's a section that says remember, a section that says reflection, and a section for setting goals. So I'm kind of hydrating a little bit. Light breakfast because I'm not even barely getting anything to eat till so it's almost 10 a.m. My sleep was really crappy. I went to sleep fine, actually. I think I went to sleep pretty well, but then I was up from 1 to after 4. I mean, part of the being up till after 4, I was podcasting at 3 something when I realized I was well, I'm not going to sleep anyways. And then just stayed up because I was well, this is more interesting than laying here trying to sleep because I can't sleep. Then eventually I got tired after 4 a.m., slept till 6:30 a.m., then slept again till 9:15 a.m. or so. The last 2 dreams I had were pretty weird. I think when I sleep in the early morning, my dreams are just really strange. They're almost like bad dreams, but they're not, I don't really get, scared or too worried. I'm just, a little bit, just, I noticed, the themes are just a little intense, being swept away by, a party being swept away by, a whole gigantic wave of water and, things breaking and people in a shootout and people robbing cars and all kind of stuff. It's what is going on here? But I wasn't really too fazed by it. It's just kind of man, what is going on? But yeah, I just didn't sleep too well, but I was I'm not going to sleep all day long. So I'm let's get up, let's podcast, have a little bit of coffee, had a homemade muffin. Now it's time to hydrate. Then I'll eat an early lunch because I didn't really, it was I'm just snacking so I can get something in me, so that I can hydrate and be okay, I had a little bit of food. So yeah, it says remember, each person is unique. There is no right or wrong wheel. Responses will vary depending on age and stage of life. Consider the wheel you have created as a source of feedback. Feedback is something we can choose to use or ignore. Now, the reflection section, we'll go over that because that little remember section didn't really say too much for us. So the reflection area, as you look at what you colored the most, what you colored the least, that's the first place to look. I would say let's see. I'd say that because I'm kind of working on social and financial things probably the most right now. I mean, physical too. Those are probably the least for me. I didn't actually, in all honesty, go through and color this because I'm looking at it on my phone. I mean, I could take a screenshot, go into edit, and color this on my phone. And have a version that's like colored in, I could do that on my phone. And just go back through the questions, but I'm not gonna do that right now because I'm recording, and that's gonna make this episode like super lengthy and scattered. But basically that's what you're supposed to do, is look at the sections. But I remember those were probably the hardest sections for me. I think emotional is probably the one that I had the longest recording about and had the most to say. That's something that I'd say is I'm kind of working through a lot. The emotional and social for me kind of go together because, you know, I'm not saying like if I'm alone I'm happier. I'm just saying, you know, a lot of my stressors can come from like some of the social environments, and I've kind of been learning this year to kind of cut out a lot of those social stressors with people. What did you like about your wheel, and what would you like to change? Those are the next two questions. I mean, I like how even just talking about it, I was able to kind of tell kind of like what I'm actively working on the most. I think what I was working on the most this year was probably the emotional stuff. I mean, I'm not saying I haven't worked on physical or financial or intellectual or social or spiritual. It's just what I've worked on probably the most is just like my emotional well-being. And, you know, because I've really been involved around a lot of people who were not emotionally okay, and that was really throwing me off. Like, I have to know, you know, just naturally, I do tend to take on other people's energy, and that, I think, was one thing that made it helpful for me to work in the field of psychology, because I could kind of understand more about a person without them actually having to like say it all in words. I could kind of more like tap into it a little more deeper. And I think the clients like that because a lot of them were used to people who were kind of just like scratching the surface of things. Like, I wasn't trying to go deeper than they wanted to go, but I think a lot of them, I don't know, there was just some style about it that I think a lot of them really gravitated towards. And, you know, but that was also hard for me. Like, I'm not saying I was always taking it home or whatever. Like, in a way I was, because for like the first like like 4 years or 5 years or so at that one job, you know, we did so much overtime, so it was like we were physically taking work home. So it's like your free time wasn't really your free time all the time. Not every day, but a lot of days or weekends of the week. And then there was one point where for a week, every month or every so often in a rotation, you would have this duty phone that could ring anytime after hours or before hours. So if you're on duty, you know, I remember once being at the drive-in concert, and I had to carry the phone with me, or if I'd go to like a beach day and I'd have to carry the phone with me. And a lot of times we were missing calls and we couldn't call them back because the number routed back to the work site phone. So if they didn't leave a name or number, or if it wasn't clear, you know, we could look them up in the system usually, but then, you know, because we had this whole locked box of like a laptop with the laptop charger and a hotspot. So you're kind of supposed to carry the whole big box with you. So if you're out at a restaurant, you get a crisis call and you can look up the person and call like support for them. But it's like they took that away because it was like a liability, and clients started using it more like a 911, or certain clients would like figure out who was on duty, and if they kind of like talking to you, they'd call you like at 3 in the morning, at 2 in the morning, and like just because they wanted to talk more. And I kind of get it. It's like, it's not like they weren't going through anything, but they used it. I mean, they used it appropriately, but it was like you kind of realized how routinely people were having these symptoms coming up. And then it's like, I'd have clients who knew if I was on duty for like 1 week, they'd call me almost every night when they woke up with a nightmare, or when they were kind of like paranoid in their house, or had some kind of like something going on. And it's just stuff like that, where it was like that kind of stuff. After years and years of that, it does take a toll. And I think I underestimated how much it was going to take a toll living with people who were just completely unstable at the same time. And then when the world got unstable, then it's like now every area of my life is like completely unstable, and I'm just trying to like hold on, and it's like, I don't know what's going on. My routines are changing. I can't interact with my stable friends as much as possible, as much as I want to. I can't get out of the house and just like avoid these people, because where am I going to go? Like, there was a point where you couldn't go to the gym, you couldn't hike on trails, you couldn't go to the beach. And then there was a point where you could go to those places, but you couldn't like sit anywhere. And so it's like, unless I wanted to go and sit in my car somewhere or go and like wander around, I couldn't really get away from them. So it's like I wasn't really going out to do anything. And that's kind of when I started podcasting. And that's why a lot of my early podcasting in 2020 was just venting about roommates. And like, so a lot of that emotional stuff, like, and social stuff was really coming out at that time. Because I really didn't have a real way away from it until I started working remotely. And then it's like, well, at least I can work from anywhere I want, because I can not have to take days off and just like work. I could go out of town and still work and still be making money and still be, accruing, time off, and still be, not having to like take days off and like spend my days off. There was a little bit of like travel or having to check out at certain times and stuff like that. So maybe I'd have to take like half a day or whatever. But it's like I was able to go to Vegas, and I was able to do this or do that and go to the mountains, and like, so there was a lot of like getting away from the people I didn't want to be around, or even just escaping and coming up, visiting my folks, and like working from, LA. And then I eventually just moved to LA while I was still like working from San Diego. But while I was working out of LA. So, but I'd say what I'm working on now is more the social stuff. Trying to develop more satisfying social interactions with people. I think I have good boundaries, but and trying to be a little more patient. And I'm already coming up with some kind of maybe I'll get to that at the other insights or reflections. But okay, the next question says, where could you make investments? Time, energy, money, whichever it is, to bring more color to your wheel. I definitely say energy. Like, I notice myself, like, when I'm not getting things the way I want, or when it's like becoming frustrating, I kind of just don't invest in it anymore. For example, I don't like being the one to kind of socially plan things, but I'm realizing if I don't plan, I'm not gonna, be able to kind of interact with people. And so what I've done lately is the people who have actively said that they want to hang out and do something, I've been making efforts to plan with them. And I've been making plans with them. I've been, trying to get connected with people, kind of catch up a little bit, texting, Facebook Messenger, whatever it may be, and make plans. And the thing I don't like about planning is that some people are easy to plan with, and that's fine. Other people are not easy to plan with. So some people, you see them and everything's fine, and you're just like, or you just run into each other online or something, and they say they want to connect, and then it's like, cool, when are you available? When am I available? Okay, this day, this time, this part of the city, let's meet up. And that's all it really takes. And then it happens. Other people have so many moving parts in their life that it's like, that's where I get impatient, where I'm like, okay, well, if you can't just make it as simple as that, maybe you don't really want to hang out, Because to me, it's more like an actions thing more than it is like a let's talk about hanging out. So I've kind of learned with some friends, it's more of like a going through the motions. They mean well, they might want to hang out, but they're not gonna really go through their calendar and commit to like a day and like make the effort to like keep that day free and stay available and not let any barriers kind of come up. I'm not saying like urgent emergencies and stuff, but I'm just saying like some people even have so many emergencies on a weekly basis that it's like you can't even plan with them because they're always like unavailable for some reason or another, always kind of flaky, because something always comes up, something always breaks, something always gets lost, somebody always needs them, they always get some kind of injury or some kind of sickness, and I'm saying those things are real and they are important, but it's like they've always got that stuff going on. And that to me is kind of like, okay, well, I've learned to kind of try it once, and then it's like, well, if we've made plans and they've canceled, I'm like, just tell me when you're free, because it's not that hard. Just tell me when you're free. I can usually be free, and we'll make that work. And so if they don't go out of their way to kind of try to plan it, then I back out, and I'm just kind of like, I'll still talk to them, but it's like I'm not going to like keep trying to spend my energy making plans with people who kind of don't really seem like they have it together to really actually socialize in person. It's like, well, maybe we just talk on the phone on occasion every couple months or something, and that's fine, So there's that. And then there's the other people who kind of like want to plan, and they'll choose a day and they'll choose a time, but then they seem kind of hesitant and something always comes up. I always just try to leave it in their court, especially because like a lot of the time, I'm usually not the one like, hey, I want to see you, let's hang out. Usually it's like the other person who's like, we haven't seen each other in a while, let's hang out. So when somebody says that, then I'm like, okay, let me see what week I'm going to be available, and maybe give some options within one or 2 week period of time. But I'm like, some people I realize are like always too busy. And it's like, well, if you're always too busy, that's not my fault. I can't do anything about that, especially if people aren't telling me when they're free. It's like, if you're waiting for me to tell you when I'm going to choose a day and you're never available on any of those days, like I have preferred days that I like to hang out with people and preferred days that I like to do my own thing. Like I've got internship hours on Mondays. Usually Sundays I like to do deliveries because that's the best delivery day for me. So I don't really want to be like sacrificing money for like spending money. Sacrificing making money for spending money. Usually Tuesdays and Wednesdays are the best days for me. Wednesdays I usually kind of take off, but I could make it work. Thursdays I'm busy. Fridays I'm busy. I could make time Friday evenings, but the traffic is usually pretty bad. Saturdays are the same thing. Traffic is pretty bad. And it's usually my time to kind of study stuff I want to study and do the things I want to do. So unless it's really something important, I usually don't want to do anything on a Saturday. Um, so usually it comes down to Tuesday and Wednesday. But I can do Saturdays and I can do Friday nights or evenings. I prefer not to really be driving too far Friday nights, or far in general, but Friday nights like at night in particular, just because lately my focus and my mental energy are just kind of like not really what I would really prefer. Plus, on the days when my schedules aren't as wacky as they have been lately, I'm waking up so early. So it's like I'm trying to be home and in bed by 10. So if we're starting to hang out by 7, it's like I'm already unwinding by 8 p.m., because I'm usually like lights out around 9. And so it's like I'm trying to sleep by like 10 something. And so for me, hanging out at like 7 p.m. really isn't that ideal. I mean, I'll do it for like the occasional birthday drag show, whatever, like on occasion, if it's like something local and quick, or I can just be like on my own time doing it. But I really try not to get home too late. I don't like staying out late. I don't like being out to midnight or 2 a.m. I mean, I'm so sleepy usually by that time, and I don't like drinking anymore. So I'm not saying I'm never going to drink. It's just I don't like how it makes me feel the next day. It just screws up my whole next day. So it's like, if I'm not out drinking late at night, what am I doing? Like I'm basically just getting sleepy and trying to stay awake. And usually it's like overstimulating and I'm super tired. It's like I'm kind of old now. Like my mentality with things is kind of old. I'm not saying I'm not in party mode. It's just I'm not always in party mode every weekend. It's not like that. I have to really get into it. So those would be like my insights or reflections. That socially, it takes a lot of patience to share kind of like a lifestyle with people. And meeting new people for me lately has not been something I like. I know enough people. I don't feel like I need to meet more. I'll meet more if it's like people that it's like friends of friends, but I really don't like to meet random people anymore. I might do that just because I used to like it, and I might just start doing it in the new year just as like a thing on occasion, just to like push myself a little bit socially. I really think I'm losing social skills. Like I find it kind of hard to kind of interact with people on certain levels if I'm just like not in the mood to do it, like it's hard for me. Like I don't usually just like give in to the environment, and like if I don't feel like it, I don't feel like it. Like I had this scenario like in summer, I think it was in summer of 2023. I talked about it where I went to this concert with some friends, and I feel like I kind of got a little bit gaslighted because I had bought tickets with 2 friends that I really wanted to go with. In particular, one of them I really wanted to go with because I was like, finally they're going. And then I don't find, like, they keep checking in with me, checking in, you're still going, right? You're still going, right? I'm like, yeah. And it's like the day of, I'm like, or the day before, I can't remember if it was the day of or the day before, I hear from them saying like, oh, like, I'm not going, I gave my ticket to like so-and-so, and it's like a 2-day event. So they're like, I'm not going, I gave my ticket to so-and-so for the first day. And I'm like, okay, so I'm there. And I kind of felt some kind of way about it, to be honest. I was kind of like, I was pretty upset at that time because just socially there was a lot of stuff that was going on where it's like, I literally spend all this money to get a hotel and drive all the way to another city and do all this stuff. And it's like, you couldn't tell me that you weren't even going to go. It's like, I have a feeling they had planned to not go all along. And they kept checking, are you going? Are you going? Are you going? Like, I felt kind of duped in a way. And, you know, I had another friend that's always reliable and solid with that kind of stuff. And he went the next day. And I know these other friends wanted to hang out the second day of this concert. But, you know, we had tickets. We paid a lot of money for these tickets. And they wanted to go do some other stuff before so that they weren't really going to get there till night. And I was like, well, we're here at like 2 p.m., 3 p.m. And I'm like, I'm here for this concert. I came to town to hang out at this concert with you guys. So I'm like, I'm not going to try to go to some bar that I always go to and do all this stuff that's like, I didn't come here to do that. And so, you know, me and the friend that I also really wanted to see that other friend, but I was like, I know he's solid, so I wasn't really concerned about him. So we hung out all that day and had a great time. You know, it took my mind off things. I had a much better night the second night, to be honest. Like the first night, you know, there was somebody that I didn't really know that, you know, they were nice and they were talking to me and it was fun. But I think they kept asking me, like, are you okay? Are you okay? And looking back, I'm like, no, I kind of wasn't okay. I was a little bit upset that, you know, I'd had that friend that I really wanted to go with that had given their ticket away to this other person that I don't even know. It's like, I spent money to hang out with this friend. I didn't want to hang out with a complete stranger. Like someone I'd seen, like, maybe 3-4 times, but like we don't talk, and I'm not at a concert to try to get to like know somebody brand new. I'm there to kind of experience it with people I already know. And so, you know, and we'd had these tickets months in advance, and so I'm kind of like, I don't know, I just felt a little taken by that whole thing. I was like, yeah, that's on me. And so now I kind of know how that person is with that kind of stuff, and I'm like, I'm not gonna really book any more expensive plans with them because they can't really confirm. You know, I'm kind of realizing that they don't really do that too good, and it kind of upset me, but I guess maybe I was playing it off and like, oh, I'm not upset, because I was happy to be there and having a good time and the music was good, but also I was like, I wanted to spend this time with a specific person that I had wanted to be there with. And then it turned out, you know, I probably only really saw them 30 minutes that second day, maybe at most, because they wanted to come in late and be all the way in the back. And me and my other friend, like, we like to go all the way to the front and, like, rock out. And, like, so I was like, I'm not even paying attention to them. Like, at this point, I'm like, if I see them or not, I'm like, I'll try to catch them on my way out. But I'm like, I'm not prioritizing, you know, because I spent, like, the whole first day in the back, like, sitting there next to somebody I don't really know, and, like, they're trying to talk to me, and I'm like, this is not what I really had in mind. You know, I kind of wanted to catch up with this actual friend of mine, not get to know some brand new person on the spot without even, like, you know, I felt kind of tricked into it. It was kind of like there wasn't really communication around it, and just how people kept checking if I was going and stuff was just kind of like, they could have told me. Like, they, multiple times over months, they had asked me if I was still going, you know, what day are you going to get to town, you can stay with us, all this kind of stuff. Like, they knew I was going. And I don't know, maybe they didn't feel good. I don't know what the situation was. They never explained it, but they never told me till it was, like, too late to, like, back out. So that's why the second day I was like, I am not prioritizing this. They seemed like they didn't really want to go. And so by the second day, you know, we kind of, you know, I was with my friend that I wanted to be there with. These guys were off on the other part of town, like partying somewhere else or drinking or at a bar or club or something. And they didn't come in until probably like 5 or 7 p.m. or something. And I was like, well, I'm leaving early because I want to go to bed. It's like Sunday night, you know. And, you know, so, you know, I was there. And then for the last group, which I'd already seen before, I met up with this other friend, you know, because they were there for like the last 2 or 3 sets. Mind you, there's like DJs all day long, like probably 20, 30 DJs all day long. So they made it for like the last 3 sets. maybe 2 sets. And I was just like, I'm not, like, they were telling me, oh, we're here. And they're like all the way in the back. I'm like, well, we're all the way in the front. So I'm not gonna like care to go like hang out with you guys, you know, like you were doing something else, you know, we're just here seeing who we want to see. I'm not like prioritizing trying to go see you now, you know. And so, you know, I was like, I'm gonna leave at this time, like 9:30 or whatever the time was, and they decided, you know, in the middle of the last set, you know, we kind of talked between, there was like maybe a 20-minute break between the second to last and the last set, so we kind of did like a bathroom break, and me and the one friend, you know, we went from the front all the way to the back to go meet them. And so, you know, after the bathroom, we met with them and we kind of talked a little bit, and they went and got food and like all this kind of stuff. Like, they weren't, that other friend that I wanted to catch up with was not there to see this concert. They didn't want to be there. You know, they had these tickets and they didn't care to be there at all. So that was just my maybe assumptions. But, you know, they left, and they left like a couple songs into the set, and I'm just thinking, like, I already said I'm leaving at 9:30, and they were in a long bathroom line, and it was like clock struck 9:30 and they weren't back yet, and I was like, you know, I'm really just gonna leave. I don't want to wait. Like, this person, like, just kind of like, I feel like they did it on purpose. They were kind of trying to trick me into kind of just like, they wanted to do things a certain way, and I was kind of just not gonna play that game. I was like, you know, I said I was leaving at a certain time, and so I left, you know. And then they're like, oh, we didn't get to say goodbye. And it's like, yeah, well, we had 2 whole days that we were supposed to be hanging out, and we spent like 30 minutes together. So I'm like, cool, you know, like I was pretty bummed. So I don't know. And also, it's like, sometimes when you're gonna plan things with people, I don't know if other people do this, but sometimes it's like, that's on me, you know, kind of expecting that things are gonna go a certain way. But I do expect that when people say they're gonna be somewhere, they're gonna be there. And when they say that they bought tickets, and then, you know, and they're kind of like asking me if I'm going, they're not saying that they're not going. So it's kind of like, are saying, oh, I don't want to go. And so it's like, well, why did you buy the tickets then if you knew you weren't gonna go, other than like the last like artist or whatever, or the last couple artists? It's like, it's a 2-day event from like noon to like, I think one night ends at like 11 p.m. and one ends at 10 p.m. or maybe it's like one ends at 11 p.m., one ends at 12 p.m., something like, or 12 a.m., something like that. But I don't know, that was kind of a partially disappointing experience, even though, you know, the other friend that is always reliable with those types of things, like, I'm not saying people have to always be reliable. It's like, sometimes there's going to be that halfway point, or like that, you know, people have things that come up, or something happens. Someone's going to break into your car, or someone's going to, you know, you're going to have, like, maybe your apartment floods or something. It's like, yeah, prioritize that for sure. Like, don't come to this concert while you got stuff like going on that's like that. So yeah, we just kind of had, I mean, like, it was like, whatever. I was a little disappointed in just how it was handled. I feel like the communication could have been better, and I feel like they weren't telling me that they didn't want to go. This is my interpretation of it. I feel like they weren't telling me because they knew I would potentially back out, and they didn't want the other person they were with to kind of be like, oh, well, why did you say something? Because they were going to back out. And it's like, I feel like they knew they weren't going to go. That's how I feel. That's kind of how I feel about it. I don't know if that's true. I never asked them if that's true. And then they gave a ticket to some other person, which was cool. They were a cool person, but I was not expecting to spend a whole day with this other person. And I'm a little bit particular. Like, in all honesty, if I would have known that that person wasn't going, I don't know if I would have bought a 2-day ticket. I would have just bought the Sunday ticket. Probably. Because my other friend only had the Sunday ticket. And I probably would have been like way more likely just for the Sunday. Because, you know, like, at that point in time last summer, when I had been or this past summer, when I had been going down to San Diego a lot and stuff, you know, I had a lot that was going on. So I really wasn't giving energy to, like, meeting new people, you know. It was like I have the social circle that I like. I want to stay in touch with them and catch up with them because I had moved. And so it's like, I don't want to spend energy, you know, talking to all these other people. I just want to talk to the people I want to talk to, you know. I don't want to talk to, like, all these other people that I don't, like, it's kind of like there's only a limited amount of free time that you can all combine your free time, you know. Like, I have plenty of free time, other people have free time, but we don't always have overlapping free time that we're willing to always spend with each other. And so once you find those overlapping areas, it's kind of like, okay, we have these overlapping times that we can actually meet, and there's usually less of that than there are for each individual person. You really have just a couple slots. So I don't usually want to spend those couple potential spots with complete strangers. You know, that wasn't where I was during summer. I was not trying to spend, you know, my money to go all the way down to San Diego to spend even one day with somebody I don't really know that well, and try to get to know them. That was not something that had interested me. It hasn't been for, like, most of the year. It hasn't been something that's, like, interested me, because I'm like, when I go there, it costs me a lot of money. So usually I try to make sure I have a plan every day that I'm going to be there. Because if I don't have a plan, I don't need to be in town. Like, I'm not usually there just to do stuff by myself. I can do that for free in LA, or for cheaper in LA. Because I'm not paying for hotels, I'm not paying for transportation. Well, I am, but it's just, like, stuff that I already have established. So, I don't know. Maybe I'm picky with this kind of stuff. You know, I don't think I'm, like, needy. I do think I'm very particular, and I do try to be patient and flexible, but it's like, when I'm just not in the mood to, like, give my social energy over to certain people about certain things, I don't really budge on it too much, because it's really been hard for me to find energy to want to, like, talk to people, even people I do know. So, because I'm taking so much energy learning all this other stuff, while my brain is also just, like, not cooperating. Like, I've been foggy for, like, the year and trying to adjust all that stuff, and, you know, trying to learn, like, a whole new career while your brain is just foggy. It takes, like, twice as long, and just getting over all the, like, healing process that needed to happen from working at a ultra strenuous job and not taking care of my health for a while, and then living with all these people that were not contributing to my peace in my free time. They were actually a major stressor in my life for multiple years, which I allowed. I stayed at the job. I stayed living with those people. So but I also thought I could make it work by just sticking it out. And then when I realized, the job's not going to pay more, therefore I can't compete with inflation, therefore I cannot move. Unless I want to risk living with other roommates, which I don't, I'm going to have to change careers, which is something I knew I wanted to do anyways. So now I've got this whole intellectual challenge on top of all this other stuff. But I am kind of in a place to kind of meet new people. A little bit. So I'm going to try it like a little bit more. I found a group that I do want to join maybe once every other month. It's kind of local, so I do kind of want to join them, but I don't know if I'm going to join in January. I'm just going to feel it out, and I do want to go join them though, so I might join. I might do it last minute. I'm going to wait and see. There's 4 slots left, so it's a meetup group. So I'm going to see if they're still available, and I'm going to try to meet with them and hang out with them and see if it's a good vibe, It's like a conversational kind of group with topics, and you just kind of meet at someone's house and chat and eat, and I could do that. It sounds cool. So it's not a whole lot of people. It's like 6 to 10 people, so it shouldn't be that strenuous. It's like a small gathering, so I kind of like that kind of stuff. And I'll see how I feel about it like 1 or 2 days before, and then plan accordingly. And I think they do it every month, and so if I miss it this month, maybe I'll do it in February. I've got a lot of plans socially this month. The end of the month I need to square away. I've got one of my friends who told me initially about their birthday months and months ago. So I've got to prioritize going to that party. And then someone else kind of just filled me in that they might do something too for their birthday that's at a similar time frame. So I've got to prioritize the first one because, I didn't even know the second person was going to do anything. That's the end of the month, but I've got plans for this coming week. I'm meeting up with a couple people on January 2nd, meeting up with someone on January 3rd, potentially meeting up with someone on the 7th, and I've got some appointments and all my scheduled things all these other days. Once my dad comes into town on the 2nd, I don't really know how it's going to be trying to share a car. I don't know how busy he's going to be, but I have my schedule where I've got a lot of stuff I need to do and a lot of places I need to go. So I'm not too sure what's going to come of all these things, but I don't know. I've been recording a lot, so I need to kind of post a lot of stuff today, probably. Maybe do some writing, finish reading a book. I don't know if I'm going to finish it. It's on Audible. It's got like 6-something hours left. So I could finish it today, but I don't know if I want to spend all day going through that book. I might spend a chapter here and there. Maybe finish it this weekend. Because I'm going to write a review on it. And then I'll podcast about it in appropriate areas as well. So, I don't know. I'm a little bit venting. I'm a little bit waking up And we'll get back into this in the next recording. I guess the next recording is going to be the last of this bootcamp topic. If I get bored or feel up to it, I might go back through and start filling in that circle. But at this moment, I don't really know if that's really what I'm going to try to do. I'll think about it. And maybe if I feel like being an overachiever, maybe I'll post mine. I probably won't write out all the other stuff because I probably won't write out all the other stuff because I'm already talking. So, I probably won't write it. But I might post the circle. I might actually do that this morning. I think it would be worth my time. I'm trying to kind of not get too deep into YouTube videos today. Not saying I'm not going to, just at the moment I want to learn by reading and writing and podcasting and stuff like that. I don't want to just watch videos, which I love doing, but there's other forms of learning too. I feel like maybe I need to be more active with my brain some days. So maybe I'll do that right now while I don't mind the idea of it. And alright guys, with that, thanks for listening.